Good morning and welcome to your TVC News here in Clarence-Rockland. It's Friday the 18th of December and I'm your host Thomas Docting, bringing you your latest regional update. In your headlines this week, COVID-19 latest in Clarence-Rockland and Prescott-Russell. The local council rejects plans for a new food hub centre. Stretching to raise money for the community. Women in politics in 2021. We look into the water levels in the Ottawa River ahead of the winter snows. And oh Christmas tree, this year's go-to safe festive activity. Cases of the coronavirus in the Eastern Ontario region remain very high, with Prescott-Russell running the risk of moving into the red zone if they don't decrease soon. Though the numbers in Ontario remain stable, with Ottawa reporting a low number of new daily cases, 61 cases were added in the Eastern Ontario region just over the course of last weekend. Speaking on Tuesday evening, Dr. Paul Roumeliotis, the medical officer for the Eastern Ontario Health Unit, explained that this brought the rolling 7-day average into the red zone, but thanks to the current downward trend, it's unlikely that the region will have to change zones before Christmas. Dr. Roumeliotis went on to say that there is a link between most cases, meaning that there is less risk to hospitals, but the residents should remain very cautious over the festive period.
Again, and just before I finish, as you know, I did issue a statement last week to the public about holidays, and it's very important now, even more, that we adhere to those. You'll see we're almost teetering at that red zone, and I don't want to go there, particularly, I don't want to have a post-holiday surge. So again, I'm asking people to stay at home, don't travel. Don't receive visitors from out of the region. Stay with your family bubble, and hopefully we can continue seeing maybe that slight decrease that we want going down and not going up to the red zone, and that's very important.
There remain 5 outbreaks in our region, with 4 in long-term care facilities and 1 in schools. In Prescott-Russell, the Russell municipality has the most active cases with 41, followed by Clarence-Rockland, who now have 28. Keep an eye on our social media channels for the latest information on COVID restrictions in our area. A few weeks ago, we reported that enforcement and education officers were deployed in the region to help businesses continue to adhere to COVID guidelines. And speaking on Tuesday, Dr. Paul Roumeliotis said that the report had come in with restrictions set to be imposed on big box stores.
We have received the report. There were over 250 looked at, 250 inspections done, and I would say close to two-thirds or so were compliant, and the rest were not compliant. Most were corrected on the spot. We are going to be, we have taken the data, we're actually compiling it so we could be releasing it. Hopefully I will be releasing it at the end of the week to the public, to the media, but also I will be speaking to our chambers of commerce just to ensure that we find out some areas that are repeat issues. So that's one thing that I wanted to clarify. So that's coming because I know I had a question about it. And the other one is we have been getting multiple complaints about the big box stores, particularly multi-department stores that have had issues with crowd control. And so we are now in the process of, I will be issuing another Section 22 specifically for retailers that have multiple departments, big box stores with multiple departments, and we will be asking for stricter crowd control as well as reducing the number or controlling the number in a certain area. So for example, in a big store that has multiple departments, for example, grocery and pharmacies, even if you have the right amount of people in the premise, if they're all crowded in one area, you cannot physically distance. So we are putting in Section 22. We'll be releasing that this week and reviewing it with the police, but that's our intention to do that because we have been seeing that, and so it makes sense that we actually have a limit per area, per department, because some of those departments are big. But if you have all people in the store in one department at the same time without controlling the need for 2-meter distancing, that is a problem. So we will be addressing that.
Plans for a new food hub centre were rejected in last week's City Council meeting as 7 councillors voted against the proposed project. The project was put forward by the United Counties of Prescott and Russell following the 2014 Local Food Counter Initiative, which created a significant boost to the local economy. The Food Hud Centre was identified as the best way to tackle the challenges faced by producers, aiming to increase revenues without significantly increasing their costs. If approved, the proposal would have been to bring back a report looking at all the financial implications of the project in 2021, with an estimated 65 to 100 jobs being created. Despite the opposition by most of the council, Councillor Samuel Cardarelli didn't want to dismiss the project too quickly.
Un peu comme tout ce que tout le monde a dit, again, the same thing that everybody's been sharing. But, you know, even by saying, yeah, let's take a look at this in more detail, it's not saying yes. So I think that we need to do our due diligence and not necessarily pass up on it until we have all the facts in front of us, where the money is going to be coming from, if this needs to be an investment from us. Because if the federal government's saying, hey, we've identified as Prescott Russell to have this plant, well, okay, show me the money. Is it just, yeah, it's perfectly good to have it there, but it's up to you to figure it out. Like, so again, there's a lot of moving parts to this, and I don't want to say no right away without seeing the whole scope and the whole picture of it, because this will evolve. It's a nice project right now as a 2-pager that we've received from the counties that really doesn't say much. But by closing the door on it right away without seeing the full scope of this and potentially the adjustments that come with it, I think we're doing a disservice to ourselves and to our constituents. But again, this is just exploring it, and it's not saying a yes. And we can always back out on it later as well. So that's my take on that.
For a little bit more information that I got Friday, after talking to Monsieur Francis Drouin, they have not put any money aside for that, because not before they find a piece of land. So they got to have an answer on a piece of land, and I guess the provincial has not come forward to say how much money, or if they would even give any money for this. So that's the dangerous part too. And after there was a phone call made to Collier, and Collier said nobody had the potential to take on a big project like this in Prescott Russell. So there's a lot of negative against it, and money-wise, as somebody said, it's going to cost. It's going to cost big money.
Despite this, most councillors agreed that with 20 acres of land required and over 1,400 cubic metres of both water and sewage capacity required as well, this project was beyond the capabilities of the Clarence-Rockland municipality and was rejected. Now, as we reported over the last couple of weeks, the community has been extremely generous, especially during this festive but yet often difficult time of year. Viv Chartand, a Rockland resident of over 13 years and yoga instructor at the YMCA for the last decade, decided to help out in her own way, hosting a class dedicated to raising funds for those in need.
Yes, absolutely. So there's many different causes. So we chose the Clarence-Rockland Health Center, and I've had a few other classes before this summer when I was teaching at the Parc du Moulin. So we did have a few other classes where the funds collected, people come together to practice yoga, and part of yoga, I mean, we've probably all heard of karma yoga, right? So it is a thing, and it is part of a yogic lifestyle as well too, is of giving back to the community. So reaching out to the Clarence-Rockland Health Center, it was perfect because it coincided with their fundraising activities. And I reached out to them and let them know, we're going to be doing this. And my participants are always also suggesting different things. And I'm trying to do this a little bit more regularly, finding a cause. And there's so many, especially at this time. It is a season like no other, for sure. So we decided to come together, and all the funds that were collected, people donate what they can, what they want. And all the funds collected go to the Clarence-Rockland Health Center. So this class, we had great participants, and I was posting it on the Rockland sites, and I have my own little Facebook site as well to promote that, so people that can come in. And we raised $180 for the center. So, and the classes this summer too, we were able to raise some funds. So it's a win-win situation because people come together on their mats and they're getting their practice at the same time, but they're also giving. So they're giving of their time. And I think one of the number one important things for generosity is, I mean, you can give money, you can give a lot of what is needed, but also giving of your time. And maybe this time of year as well too, the season, and also we're living through a pandemic. Time might be fleeting for some. We forget what the time is. We're kind of all living in kind of a different zone. So yeah, so I continue to do that, and as the new year comes, we're going to have other activities as well too. But I tend to focus because there's a lot of the local people that are participating in my class. So we like to dedicate something locally and towards this fundraiser. It's so important. So yeah, so that's what we went ahead and did. So,
though collecting funds is clearly vitally important, sometimes raising the awareness of a cause can be even more so. And that is exactly what a new initiative aimed to do this year. The goal of the Leadership Féminin Prescott-Russell programme is to get equal representation within municipal politics in the region, with hope of impacting the number of women who stand for and are elected in the 2022 municipal elections. Through testimonies from women in politics, as well as providing access to various tools, the committee hopes to reduce the number of obstacles faced by women as they attempt to break into their local politics. I spoke to the president of the organisation and councillor for the nation, Marie-Noelle Lanthier, who told me that the goals of the organisation for the next 2 years is to increase awareness through online and in-person campaigns in order to double the number of female councillors in the Prescott-Russell region from 12 to 24. This interview was recorded in French, and you can watch it in part on our French programme Les TVC Nouvelles, or you can watch the whole interview on our YouTube channel. Pour l'année 2021, qu'est-ce que vous souhaitez le plus?
Pour la prochaine année, écoutez, j'imagine j'aimerais qu'on travaille à atteindre la parité. Je pense que moi, je fixe mon objectif pour cette initiative-là pour 2022, parce que ça va être le moment de vérité aux élections de 2022. Et j'espère qu'on pourra avoir le double des femmes élues au sein des conseils municipaux. Et ce serait bien aussi qu'on puisse voir à la mairie plus de femmes qui occupent des postes également. Parce que dans le moment, encore là, on est bien au-deçà des proportions ailleurs en Ontario et au Canada, et même avec nos voisins au Québec, on est à 12%, quand le prochain taux le plus bas est comme 18%. Donc, pour moi, c'est ça, c'est d'avoir plus de femmes qui soient présentes et qu'elles puissent profiter aussi de l'appui des femmes qui sont là présentement. Nous, on est là, puis encore là, les gens peuvent nous rejoindre parce que sur le site web, oui, on a notre photo, notre petite histoire, mais on a aussi nos contacts. Alors, les femmes peuvent se sentir à l'aise de communiquer avec nous et ça va nous faire plaisir de s'entretenir avec elles. Mais mon souhait, ce serait de doubler. Donc, au lieu d'être 12 d'entre nous qui sont là présentement à travers les comtés unis, j'aimerais qu'on se rende à 24.
Oh, parfait, c'est un peu ambitieux, mais c'est parfait, c'est exactement ce qu'il faut. Donc, Marie-Noelle, je vous souhaite très bonne chance à propos de ça et j'espère qu'avec le vaccin, avec la fin de la pandémie, il va pouvoir avoir des événements en personne et je vais pouvoir vous rencontrer et vraiment regarder le très bon travail que vous avez commencé cette année.
Merci beaucoup, puis merci de m'avoir accueilli à votre émission. Ça me fait toujours plaisir de parler aux gens et surtout aux citoyens et aux gens qui nous écoutent des projets de leadership féminin et de politique au féminin.
As we rush forwards toward the winter snows off the back of a wet fall, some minds in the region will be cast towards the risks facing those living close to the Ottawa River in spring. The South Nation Conservation in collaboration with many municipal partners, published a recent report showcasing that the water levels reached 60 centimetres higher than average during the fall of 2020, mainly due to humid conditions and heavy rains at the tail end of October. The good news is that historic data does also suggest that there is little correlation between the high water levels in fall and those we witness in the spring, which cause floodings. We spoke to the manager of the enforcement division here at the city, Yves Roy, to look at the city's preparations for what would be the third year of floodings since 2017.
Well, the Ottawa River rose out of its bed in 2017 and again in 2019, and let's hope that it stays in bed in 2021. When something this big happens, it affects the whole community, and it doesn't matter who you are or what you do. We come together to help each other out.
And specifically, what areas of the city and municipality were most affected by these floodings?
All low-lying areas along the river or other areas identified as floodplains.
And based on what happened in 2017 and 2019, what was done to react to these floodings, and was the city learnt from that going forward into the next couple of years and taking on board the risks of it happening again?
The city mobilizes its plan and assisted residents through the supplies of items such as sandbags and general assistance. There are numerous elements to the city support, such as tax and permit relief following the event. So I think we learn every year, and we get a little bit better every year.
And has this always been the case, or as you say, like I know there were some reports produced after the last couple of floodings. Has the city managed to learn from those, and has anything been tweaked?
No, I think it's just follow the plan. The more you're organized, the better you become at it.
Absolutely. And as obviously we head into the winter after this was quite a wet fall. What is the city doing to prepare for these potential floodings next year, and what can residents themselves do?
The city, we are making sure that supplies are available. That's first and foremost, and that we monitor the river fluctuation in order to communicate better with the residents. And as far as what the residents can do, I think by the city being more prepared, the residents will be more prepared, and communication is key.
And at this point in time, is the city stockpiled enough, like in terms of sandbags and things like that you were saying? Do you feel like is the city in a position that they can handle this if it does happen?
Yes, we can. We definitely have a stockpile.
Wonderful. Well, Yves, thank you very much for taking your time to speak to me, and hopefully settle some of those nerves amongst any residents watching.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers. And as Christmas time approaches, the number of active cases of COVID in our region unfortunately remain high. But we are all looking for ways to get into this holiday spirit without risking spreading the virus. And what better way to do that and enjoy the winter safely with social distancing than by cutting down your own tree? We went to a local tree farm with two Clarence-Rockland residents, Jodie Ann Smith-Cole, a nurse, and Ella Hu, a pianist and a vocal coach, as they cut down their very first Christmas tree. If you're looking for a place to get yourself a Christmas tree this year in the Eastern Ontario area, you don't have to look much further than Briggs Tree Farm here in Navan. A bit like with the commodities of toilet paper at the start of this pandemic, there's been much talk about Christmas trees flying off the shelves, so to speak. So we popped down and we thought we'd have a little chat with the owner of Briggs Tree Farm here, Robin. We'll grab Robin over here with us. Robin, very nice to meet you. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Good to meet you too, Thomas.
And can you just tell us? I mean, we are the second weekend in December now. How has the sale of your Christmas trees been going? We've been hearing that they've been snatched up pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's been extremely busy for this time of year. Apparently, based on what people telling me, they're sort of tired of COVID and they want to get started with Christmas as a little sort of pick-me-up. So we'll see on average if like in next weekend and towards Christmas, it may be a lot slower than it normally is. So we don't know yet whether this is going to carry on right through or whether it's going to slow down or whatever. But certainly, people were out early to get their trees this year.
And Robin, how big is your farm and how many trees do you have on it? How many people can you accommodate?
Well, we are sort of full up when we get up around 100 people, 100 cars, which would be 200 or 300 people over the course of about 6 or 7 hours, because it doesn't open till 8, and then don't let people go back after 3:45 because it gets dark. So in that period, and it's only on weekends that we're very busy. We've tried on our website and stuff to encourage people to come during the week because it's more quiet like this. But we'll see what happens in the next 2 weeks, because all those people who came early aren't going to come later. So I'm not sure how different it's going to end up in the end, sort of in the big picture.
And how have you had to change things this year to accommodate people whilst abiding to all of these bizarre new protocols that have had to come into place this year?
What we've had to do is set up this area here. Normally people came and they went, and it was a very low rules type of place. Now the regulation is you have to have separate entrance and exits. That means that people aren't crowded going this way against each other. You have sanitizing things over. For instance, our saws that we lend out to people, they just used to take them and put them back on the rack. Now they take them, they give them to us when they come back on the other side, and we sanitize them and put them back on the rack. And in the antiques barn and our shop, our Christmas shop, only 4 people at a time can be in there.
And Robin, you've been running this place for quite a long time now, and you were telling me a little bit earlier how you've had people coming back year after year after year. Why do you think, it might be a little obvious, but why do you think this activity seems to be so much more popular this year?
I think, like we were talking about when we were down in the field, is people, like in Liz and my case, we can't travel out west to see our grandchildren. They can't travel here. So I talked to an awful lot of people. They can't go anywhere. They can't do too much. They can't even have friends over for a party or whatever like they normally do at Christmas. So they're going to concentrate on making a nice decor, concentrate on their home decor, making it look like Christmas, and hunkering down for a couple of weeks and just quietly enjoying it. And so that's become important to them, sort of as a way of not escaping, but ameliorating the effects of, the mud that gets on your feet because of COVID. So I think that's why they're doing it. It's going to be a different Christmas for all of us because we're just not mobile and we can't do a lot of the things we normally did.
And Robin, before I let you get on with your day, for those people that maybe haven't come out and purchased their trees yet, obviously hearing a lot of stories that the trees are disappearing very quickly because everyone's doing it. Do you still have a couple left? Are you still open?
Yeah, we're about where we normally are, so we can carry on. But it's going to. It is thinner in the fields, and it is more walking and it is more seeking. So it's not as easy unless you like walking, which a lot of the people who come here do. But we expect we'll be able to get through. But if we run out of trees, we'll keep the wreaths in the Christmas store open maybe until the 23rd. That's when we normally close anyway. So. I don't know if the trend has peaked. If it has, then it might be quite nice the next 2 weeks because not that many people, or it will carry on. If it's the same sort of numbers as been the last 2 weeks, then we won't probably have too much after this coming weekend. So, but we just don't know that. Like it may be different.
Wonderful. Well, best of luck, Robin. Thank you very much for joining with us today.
All right.
So that was Robin here at the owner of Briggs Tree Farm. Joined with me now are 2 lovely ladies. How are we doing?
Good. Great.
Yeah. So we're here today because, in particular, someone's been cutting down their very first Christmas tree. Am I right?
Yeah.
How did you find?
My first time too.
Your first time as well. So how have you ladies found today's experience, and what was the reason that you decided to pick this year of all years to obviously go out and start this Christmas tradition?
You go. I go first? Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess this year we can't really like visiting friends too much or like family. So this year's basically like more like an indoor Christmas. So for me, I really want to like decorate my house like super nice this year since we're mostly just staying at home with less people. Like, yeah, that's why.
And for me, my kids have been nagging me about doing Christmas stuff for a while, and because they're not doing as much stuff outdoors as they normally would, we thought that this year would be nice to do some, Christmassy stuff and get a tree and do the whole decor and just have a nice indoor Christmas. Yeah.
And we were all of us were down in the fields just like 5-10 minutes ago, cutting down these trees. We'll start with you this time. How did you find the whole experience of picking a tree and cutting it down? It was far more complex than we were expecting.
Oh my God! I did not realize that getting a Christmas tree was so complicated, but it was really exciting. I loved it. I definitely am doing this again next year. Yeah.
Wonderful. And what did you make of the whole experience? Were you expecting having so many different rules around what was the right tree to pick?
No, actually, and I was so happy that he actually gave us so many tips, like what kind of tree you should actually pick for your place. Sometimes what you're thinking is not what you actually need for your place. And in the field, the tree does look very different, like than how you think it will look in the house. So I think eventually we're so happy with the tree we picked. Yep.
Wonderful. So now that the tree has been cut down, just before I let you girls go, when's it popping up in the house?
Hopefully this evening. I kind of promised the boys that this evening would be the evening to decorate the tree, so I am as pumped as they are. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, congratulations on your first tree, and I wish you ladies a very Merry Christmas. Enjoy the rest of your week and enjoy popping up the tree.
Same to you.
Thank you.
Perfect. So there we have it. We have Briggs Tree Farm. We have a bunch of new Christmas trees. We have a bunch of new Christmas traditions for 2020. And despite some of the issues with the pandemic, as we've just seen with those two lovely ladies, that new traditions can always be born even in these trying times. So if you need to start a tradition, if you want to come out and get yourself a tree, there's still time, obviously, in these weekends before Christmas. Just make sure you come and do it. Be safe, wear your masks, and keep 2 meters apart. Merry Christmas, Clarence-Rockland. Well, that's it for this week's and the last edition of the year of TVC News. If you'd like to become a volunteer reporter here at TVC 22, or you have a story you want told, please get in touch with us. We'd love to take you on and show you the ropes if you have an interest. You can reach me by email, of course, at nouvelle@tvc22.ca. That's nouvelle with an S at the end. Or by phone on 613-446-6037, extension number 4. Or, of course, find us on any of our social media channels. We will see you next week with an exciting special edition of TVC Christmas. Have a lovely weekend, Clarence-Rockland, and I'll see you next week, so bring that festive cheer. Goodbye.